Okay, we're back. I know we had a little controversy last week. This is Keto Taylor Consulting Group, our podcast, our weekly podcast. We talked about last week of eternal salvation, and then we talked about conditional salvation rights. And so what we want to do today, we want to talk about the immigration issue when it comes to Christianity. But first, we're gonna clean up last week when we had some controversy. We were arguing back and forth or going discussing stuff back and forth. Me and my elder Grady, my partner here.
Yeah.
But I just want to touch on a false profession because a lot have to do with that, especially when you deal with conditional. And Jesus made it clear, about false profession. So when Jesus speaks, he's the word of God. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna say a few things about that. Then we're gonna really probably end the show when we talk about immigration when it comes to what do Christians believe in terms of this illegal immigration. We're gonna let Grady talk about 10 minutes, and I'm gonna talk about 10 minutes. But first, I just want to end this conditional eternal salvation versus conditional peace, and I'm gonna end it with false profession. A false profession, according to the Bible, refers to a declaration of faith of commitment to God that is insincere or not backed by genuine belief in action. The key word here is action, because your action should definitely, I always tell people, your action should follow your words. Sometimes, Jesus used the example, the father asked the son, to do something for him. And then the one said, yeah, daddy, I'm going to do it. But he didn't do it. And then he asked the other son, said, no. And his son said, no, he won't do it. But he went and did it. And he said, which one did the father's will? And we know which one did the father's will, the one who did the action. And that's what I keep telling folks. Your action should, and we deal with biblical context and scripture reference. The concept appears in various passages such as Matthew, the 7th chapter, the 21st verse through the 23rd, where Jesus speaks to individuals who claim to know him, but do not do the will of the Father. Jesus warned that not everyone who claims to know him will enter the kingdom of heaven. He emphasized the importance of doing the will of the Father. James did the same thing in James 2, verses 19. He talked about even demons believe, but they won't do. They don't do the will of the Father. So it's you're dealing with a lack of transformation. And also a person who attend church, they think they're born again. Just because you attend church, that don't mean anything if you don't do the will of the Father. You're not out. He said, basically, you got to be witnessing for God. You have to do things. It should be some fruit. Like when you saw the tree was out there and it had leaves, but it didn't have any fruit. Okay? So he cursed the tree. You can look like the Pharisees, they look holy, but they was not holy. They were devils. So people have to understand, and I make sure, when I'm dealing with people, I said, you say one thing. It was an individual that, I asked a question to, and I was talking, but they said they wasn't doing anything. They were home sleep, but they were out partying. And I asked the question again, and they said, no, I was home sleep. So it's a lot of lying that's going on nowadays. I guess this is Trump era, and that's what Grady probably going to talk about. But no. Grady, if you have anything about false profession, when it comes to conditional or eternal, I'm going to narrow it down. Then we're going to get into the question of immigration.
You're going to narrow what down? You got a question? Is there a question here somewhere?
Yeah, I'm saying, do you have any question about false profession? Is Jesus right? Those who don't do the will of God is.
I don't have a question, but I can make a statement.
You can make a statement.
Right.
Go ahead and get into immigration. Because that's going to probably take the rest of our time.
Well, my statement is this, that God knows those who are his. Now, if a person decides to say, yes, Jesus, I would like for you to come into my life and forgive me of my sins as I repent thereof. And they decide that maybe a year from then or a couple of months from then or what have you, if they decide that they no longer want to serve God, then basically they just turned away, which and turned back, and it just amounts really down to whether or not you are obedient unto the Lord. If you are disobedient, And your confession don't necessarily mean you didn't mean it, but you just decided to say, "Hey, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to serve God anymore." And I think that's a choice a person has to make. And so whether it's a false confession or not is debatable. But we're not going to debate that. I'm not going to debate it because I'm kind of just not going to do it because I can. It'll take a lot of time.
And we don't want to get a lot
discussion.
of time on
Right.
falsehood. Jesus
amen.
settles the question. That's
Okay,
all.
go
That's
ahead.
all. Jesus settled the question. Now we're going to get into this immigration issue because immigration, this has been a hot topic. Everybody hating Donald Trump because of immigration. Matter of fact, I think his Homeland Security
Right.
folk, they beat a congressman up. I heard
Right.
throw him on the floor.
It's like
And,
anything goes with these
anything
folks.
goes against when we come to immigration. That's going to be a hot issue for 2026 too. So and then we got the side of the Christian. I know I've been called evil. I've been by some other Christians. I don't say I define what evil is, and I'm definitely not evil. But I think people should do things right. When you come into a country, all country have laws and processes set up for you to come in legally. And if you don't want to do that, if you're undocumented and if you don't come in or you don't you go and you don't try to get those things right, you're sneaking. And I don't care about 20 million DACA people came in and what do you do with them? You came in illegally. You got a whole country that you can go back and probably serve your country a little better because you got educated in this country. You can go back down. We even vacation in Mexico. Hola! We vacation. Hola! Come over. Oh, but we don't understand that. I don't understand it. Why is 20 million people in this country and then undocumented or DACAs? And they came over here with the sole purpose of working, and then with probably a little pass, and then all of a sudden they decided to stay here. Now they had a process, but I'm gonna let Grady. I'm gonna give him 10 minutes. I'm not gonna say anything, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna try to close it out. But it just boggles my mind how we can be called the evangelicals and then these other folk can be called because we want to remove those individuals. They've been called evil. They've been called non-Christian.
Evangelicals ain't got nothing to do with it. Evangelical not. Ain't got nothing to do with
I'm gonna give you 10
the law is
minutes.
the law.
You asked me a question. The law is the law. There you
Because
go.
I want you. Sometimes you
Please.
say things.
The law is the law. The law is the law. You can't go into any other country and do anything like we're doing here in the United States. And I just don't understand. Now, Grady, you can go ahead and take that question.
I agree. The law is the law. If you're going to enter a country, you should come into that country lawfully.
No.
Right. But now we can't necessarily compare America, the country of America, with European countries because a lot of European countries are basically right next. It's like our states. Maryland touches Virginia. Virginia touches New York, I think at some point, or Tennessee, or however the states go. We got lines, everything. So we can cross lines all over the place. Okay, and you still be in this country. Same thing in Europe. Europe has boundaries for each country, but you can cross them lines anywhere. They don't really have things set up like we do at the border between us and Mexico, in this case, in North America, where we got this big what they call it, an entry point where they set up to everybody coming through. Most European countries don't have that. Okay, now, so you can just cross lines anywhere in there, but once you get there, I guess you have to deal with the laws there. So same thing in America. Now, if our laws say you got to come in legally, and currently the laws that have been established, Lord knows, for at least prior to Obama being president or prior to Bush or Ronald Reagan, for that matter, the laws were already established. And then those people came in here, they went through the courts, and things were set up, and over time things changed here and there. But all of them got their papers. Okay, let's say they got their paper. They had to report to the immigration office, stuff like that. But currently, under our current president, all that has been wiped out. They don't care how long you've been here, what papers you have, or what you're doing here. They don't care about that anymore. They just saying, oh, you're not an American. Basically, what they're saying, you're not born here, so we're going to get rid of you. That's basically what's coming down to. They are not Americans, and that's how they're looking at most of basically Hispanics right now. They are not Americans, so they just rounding them up, like cattle. Okay, let's get all these cattle together, and then we're going to herd them over here, and then put them in a pack, just basically get them out the door, and that's what they're doing. And like I said, a lot of those people have been there, like I said, for years. Okay, and then what was funny is that I listened to some of the people who have their citizenship, and then who came here and got here legally and went through and did this and the other, and now they want to basically not allow those people to go through the process. They say, look, they didn't go through what I went through. I had to go through all this. Why can't they? So now they're pushing back against that kind of stuff. Where before it was okay, and yes, Obama came up with this DACA thing, which was fine, allowing people the time to become American citizens. But again, that has now been pushed aside. That has now been, the law is still there, I believe, but the process has been pretty much how you go through it has been basically overlooked, eliminated in some cases, and said, and whatever card you had, whatever process you're going through, it doesn't matter anymore. We just basically are just going to round you up, because we know now they're standing out in front of schools, offices. Right now they got the FIFA Cup soccer games going on in America, and some of them people, and some Europeans or non-Americans, they love that soccer. Okay. And now they're afraid to go to games because they fear that the ICE is going to be there around them. And the funny thing about ICE said, hey, we're going to do the security for these games. I mean, how are they going to take upon themselves to do that? Provide security. What they just said, and they said, and then I think they said, well, hey, and guess what? If we're going to be checking your papers. So a lot of stuff is going on with this stuff. But basically, it don't matter whether you've been here 10 years, 10 minutes, or what have you. You got families or what have you. If you're not an American, it don't matter what paper you have, a green card, blue card, yellow card, whatever, it don't matter. If you don't have a passport, basically you got to go. Okay, this is what they said. But now we see where they're even rounding up American citizens who were born here. Okay, they're even rounding them up. They don't care, because what it basically comes down to racial profiling. And so therefore, yes, you should come into the country legally. But the way things are right now, how are you going to do that? If you're going to go through the process, because let's say you come across the border, put in your request for to be an American citizen, is under Donald Trump right now, are they going to honor that system? They come in through the like Jesus said, there's no other way to come into heaven but through Christ. There's no other way to come into America but through that border checkpoint. So if you're coming in there, who to say whether or not, if you do it right, that this current administration under Trump and this ICE director, who to say that whether or not they're going to honor even that you come in? Everybody say, oh, come in legally. But then when they do, are they going to honor that?
Okay.
That's the question.
That is the question. Will they honor it? I can't say they will honor it until the Congress make laws, right?
The laws are in the books, already on the books.
So the laws is on the books.
Matter of fact, Congress right now ain't doing nothing
right now. But
they want to get a tax cut. That's why they're doing all this stuff.
Well, if Congress not doing it, they're not doing their job.
They're not doing their job.
Then somebody have to do their job.
Well, there ain't nobody except the Democrats. They're trying to push back.
It's the executive, and then there you got the executive branch.
Let's not talk about what the executive doing. Which is Trump,
and which is Donald Trump and company.
Exactly.
And when it comes to immigration, it goes back, and I think we all agree. It just amazes me for people who come. And I don't care whether they're just not Mexicans. I don't care who they are. They can come into this country illegally and say they have rights, and then they will come into this country and protest.
There's nothing wrong with protest.
No.
What are they protesting? That's the question.
No, they come into this country and they protest. They go on college
protest
campus
what?
And they protest.
What are they? Again, you can't just say. So what if they? Wait a minute. What if they protest?
You got to give me 10 minutes. I didn't interrupt you. Now,
well, take 5 minutes. Okay.
You got to give me 10 minutes.
All right, take it 10 minutes.
Okay. See, you ready to jump in?
Because you make it you paint this thing such a broad picture. I'm protest against what? Be specific.
Okay.
Let's just say protest.
Let me give you a few specifics then. It was a young man who protested at, I think, Columbia University. He got jailed. He put in jail, and he became like a hero for these other left-wing idiots who will sit there.
Now we're going to assault people.
No, excuse me, I'm sorry. Left wing's intelligentsia idiots who will sit there and allow them to go, but just because they don't agree with a policy, our policy with Israel, they will sit back and say and excite people. See, they got this, and then they will wear Palestinian garbs to hide their face. So then when they get arrested, they'll say, "Well, I got a right." They not even citizens of this country.
They do have rights.
How can I go to another country and then say, "Well, I don't like Putin," or "I don't like whatever country or Saudi Arabia"? I can say, "I don't like this prince or king," and expect me to protest against in their country. That's just you coming up at the grace. We giving you grace to come in and get educated, and you can go back and do whatever you want in your country. But you cannot. I do not believe you should be over here protesting, tearing down our property in California, and inciting other people in Colombia and New York. Those are the hotbeds. And then you're going to incite other people around the world. You got anybody, because sometimes Americans will follow anybody. And so they got all these people protesting on something that they don't even know nothing about. Don't know the history, don't know anything about what our policies is when it comes to different countries. And why don't they go home? That's what I don't understand. They say, "Well, you black, you used to be a slave and all this other." I couldn't. We didn't come over here voluntarily. I'm telling those folks, so when they say that this black man is sitting up there talking about it, let me make it clear. We didn't come over here voluntarily. When we did come over here as slavery, we fought to get the right to do all the things that we're doing right now. We are American citizens, so I don't even believe we should have a civil rights bill and all this other stuff that we say. We are American. We have proven that now we're American citizens, and then we can go there and protest against what's going over in Israel or Ukraine or any place in the world. We can do that because we're American citizens. But if you are in this country on a visa, or you're in this country illegally, you have no rights. And they say, "Well, the law might let us do that." Then the law, we're proving that the law needs to be changed, because you're over here. Just like if I go over to Italy for school, if I go over to the UK for school, you're not gonna get me to protest anything, because I'm over there for an education, and then I got a country that I can go back to. A lot of these folks, they come and they ain't planning on going back to their country. Even these students, a lot of them ain't even planning on going back. They just want to stay over here and do what they do. So I'm gonna turn the last 5 minutes over to my brother here and let him.
That's all we have. 5 more minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. How many more minutes we got?
Well, again, there's some truth in what you're saying there, Mr. Lynn, but there is something called mitigating circumstances. I mean, this country didn't mind or don't. I mean, right now, we allow people from other countries to come here, get the education, and right now, I mean, because of a tyrannical attitude of certain people, okay, they are saying now they're going to prevent this particular institution, Harvard to be exact. They will prevent them from getting what they call international students to attend their college. Why? Because a tyrannical person decided, I want to run the school. Okay, I want to be the one to decide how that school conducts itself. I am in charge. I am the president. I am the executive. I want it done my way. Okay, when again, this is new to this country. We had established laws, rules, regulations, whatever have you, because over a period of time, things they worked things out. Okay, Congress as a whole, Republican, didn't matter what your party was, you sat down and talked to people. That's why we have our laws the way they are now. Because if our laws being made today based on the way Republicans and Democrats look at each other, we wouldn't have America. And we can see we wouldn't have the country we have. We would have no law that says if you have a right to free speech, they will take that away from you. We wouldn't have a law that says you have a right to see a judge. They will take that away from you. They wouldn't have it because there are too many. It's us against them attitude. So right now we have in this country us Americans against them, the immigrants. Okay, those who come to our country, they're preventing even people from a lot of countries coming, except for South Africa. White South Africa, they let them people come in here. And what are they doing with them? Taxpayers have to pay them because they ain't got no jobs here. They ain't got no place to live. So we gotta foot that bill. Okay. And because our president decides they're being discriminated against over there. So let them come over here and become nothing about becoming an American citizen unless you just give them a blanket citizenship. Okay, then that means he talking about bringing thousands of them over here. I guess what he's going to do is he gonna bring thousands of them over here as he sending thousands of other people out the back door. He gonna bring in the front door all these thousands of white people as he send out the thousands of immigrants. Is that correct? I mean, is that justice? Is that justified, or is it just what he wants to do as a tyrant, as a tyrannical person? And immigration it was established. I mean, we run around. If we don't keep up with the news and what these people are doing, then we have conspiracy. That's why we have so many conspiracy theories. Okay, why that guy went and attacked one of the these people in offices and some government officials because of conspiracies, because they believe stupid stuff. They believe anything. And because some people just push it out there, so they believe it, they act on it. Instead of trying to find out the truth for themselves, they don't care about the truth. They just want to, okay, wow, you hear that? Let's go. Okay, they're just people out there, and I put it out, and my Bible tells me this, that there are people out there who has nothing else to do but to cause destruction. Okay, their whole purpose is to cause destruction. They have nothing else. It's like their intent is to cause destruction. That's what they were like born for like a better way to put it. And I think a lot of people are like that. And those are the people we have to watch out for, not the people coming over here working every day. Farmers right now can't find can't get immigrants. We had laws say that allowed immigrants to come in and work on the farms. It was fine. They come in and work and they would leave. But somehow or another, yes, someone wanted to stay. But again, you gotta have things in place to deal with that. Okay? But everything's out of whack right now because they just doing stuff. There's no law anymore. They say, well, that person don't deserve to be what they call it when you arrest somebody and you read them their rights and then they gotta have a court date. That has gone off the door. Due process. Thank you. There's no more due process because the man's saying that I don't for what? We know what they are, but he started out one thing. He's gonna start out gathering crooks. But now it seems like, what they say, when you throw a wide net, you ain't just getting in tuna anymore. You're getting everything that's out there. You catching sharks, you catching squid, octopus, maybe minnows, all kinds of stuff can be caught in that net. Okay? And that's what happens when you throw out a wide net. So that's just a fishing term, but seeming like that term is now being addressed here in a way. It's the same thing happening here in America. So all I'm just saying is that we have laws, but if we're going to skirt those laws, then why make them in the first place?
Well, let me try to answer that. We have laws on the books. We should do what the laws on the books say. Illegal people who come in this country for whatever reason, they need to go through a process,
right,
to get citizenship if that's their goal, if they've been whatever. And then they say, what would, and I heard somebody tell me, they said, what would Jesus do? And I said, Jesus would not break the law. And I heard a priest sit up there and say, you should have compassion. Yes, you're supposed to have compassion on people. That's what church is for. That's what we call missionaries. Why ain't you over there helping the individuals over there in those countries who's saying they're persecuted? Well, you especially the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is everywhere.
Can I ask a question?
No. So, you had your chance. But that's why I don't know what to say. What would Jesus would show compassion, yes, but he will not break the law. He did not break it. One preacher said that Jesus was an immigrant. I say, give me a break. When he went into Egypt, he had to cross a border, right? He had to go in there and he had to show papers or whatever. And then he came out.
had to show no papers.
He had to, well, back in the day, they had to show something.
They didn't have to show nothing.
Okay,
They didn't have any papers.
They let him in, right?
They didn't let him in. They just walked across the board, like I said.
No, they didn't walk across the board. They had to, and then
There was no stuff like that back then.
Yes, it was. Because I get your scriptures too.
I'd like to see them
Then
scriptures.
you have to go back. When he was finished, his father allowed him to go back to where he was supposed to be, go back to Bethlehem or whatever. But you got to understand, people will use Jesus like he's a lawbreaker, and that's just a complete lie. Preachers, y'all got to stop that. Y'all got to stop lying. Jesus would not break any law, because if he broke one law, if he did anything that would break a law, he wouldn't be God. Period. He said obey man. He said obey man law. All you gotta do is go to Romans 13. He said obey man's law. So all them folk, even Paul, obeyed laws. Even all the apostles obeyed the laws of that land that they were in.
You know, that's funny.
And I will give you. I give you about 2 more minutes, and
I'll try to be quick.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. I mean,
you got 5 minutes. I'll take the last 2. I'll let you get 3.
I don't need 2, 3. But again, the law is the law. Nobody's saying you should break the law.
Yes, you do. You're a lawbreaker.
You know, people. You know, if anybody's breaking the law right now, it's our government.
No, it's not.
The law. Wait a minute. The law says again, due process. And our government says, no, we're not going to go through due process. Who broke the law? The person who deserved due process, or the person I'm not giving you due process.
All of a sudden, it's due process.
But there's always been due process, because if you start taking. But how many laws are we going to?
Millions of people were bombing them throughout. There ain't no due process.
How do you know? You didn't hear about it because they didn't break the law.
They did break the law.
They had to go through the courts. They didn't. I didn't know where. You show me
the courts would have been.
You show me an instance. You correct me if I'm wrong, but show me where anybody. Well, ICE had been around, I think, during Obama's time.
Yes, it was.
But you show me an instance where they went to school. They didn't go into schools. They didn't go into churches. They didn't go out into the fields. They kind of, found them into the neighborhood or wherever
they weren't looking for them.
Exactly, they weren't looking for them right now, and there was no need to look for them right now. Okay, right then, and the ones that they did gather were basically crooks, guys who were breaking the law, doing criminal acts. Those are the ones that supposedly Trump went after.
And that's why we got $20 million people.
Whether we do or not, they can evade. I mean, people can evade.
Citizenship too.
Right, they can evade the law. But again, Obama talking about right and wrong. Obama tried to set up a situation where, hey, we let us set up where these people come in can get citizenship. But again, certain Republicans say no. Republicans are the party of no. I don't care how you look at it. They wear the big old no around their neck, like people wear a cross. So all this stuff about these people are Christians. I disagree. You can't tell me you're a Christian and then hating people. We talked about before. They do hate these people.
They don't hate people.
You do hate people.
That's your favorite word, hate.
What else? Give me another word.
No, it's not hate.
What is it? Dislike?
No, they're not disliking the people.
What
They
do
just
they do?
want you to follow the rules, just like everybody else follow the rules.
The people do follow the rules. Wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. Again, they did follow the rules.
No, they didn't.
Why do these people?
They didn't.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Follow the rule.
Again, these people who have court dates, they came in legally and they applied for citizenship, whatever they're going through, however that's process work. Then they has, okay, you got a court date to come back here this time. And so they met their court date, getting in there and say, okay, I'm here for, my court date. And they decide what's going on. Am I going to be extended? Am I going to be granted this, that, or whatever they were going, the process they were going through. And then here comes this ICE agent grabbing these people right after their court date. And they set things up. They grab them. And then in the courts with the courts. And then some other courts, I'm not going to deal with that. But anyway, because I can say something. But I'm going to say this. They grabbing these people illegally. Okay, they dismissing any court dates they have. And then say, okay, forget it. We don't care if you got a court date. We don't care if you got a green card. We don't care if you got anything. That said, the government says this is what you need to be here. We don't care. We just taking you away. And that's what they're doing.
They had years to do that. And they decided all of a sudden the new administration come in. All of a sudden everybody running the court now. And they wouldn't have,
That's not true.
I guarantee you, if
people, if y'all listen to this
administration, we've been doing the same
what Mr. Lynn is saying is not true.
And you've been doing the same thing like we always do. Like there was one congressman questioned this guy in Chicago, this mayor of Chicago. He couldn't even give him a straight answer. He said, just say yes or no. Do you, blah, blah, blah. He would say, well, I'll give you the same answer. Do you believe that you should have an illegal setup for your they said, well, we believe in all citizens of the United States. He said, all people, we give fairness to all people.
Exactly.
Now,
You should give everybody fairness.
Yes, you give fairness to all people.
Any person in
These
any
folk
country are
illegal.
subject to that country's laws, are they not?
Yes, subject to that
country's laws. Our laws say you have the right to free speech.
No.
Oh, it don't? It don't?
Yeah, still say
all right,
that.
So if I want to speak up.
No,
you can't just
you're not a member of that.
Nowhere in the Constitution does it say you have to be an American to be subject.
So you screwing the laws around.
I didn't say that. You show me a law that says you have to be only thing the law says you have to be an American to be his president.
No. Okay.
Okay, but it don't say you have to be.
They can come over here and they can do anything.
We talk about what the law say regarding whether or not what you can do as an American.
You know the intent. There's an intent of the law.
Yeah, what is the intent of our government right now?
Is not to
what is the intent of our government?
The intent is not for having a non-American citizen go out there and protest in our country. That's the intent. Now we don't say that's not the intent of the law. Now you're making stuff up. No. I'm just saying that there's an intent of the law.
If you're going to write a wait a minute, the intent of the law says that's why the intent is that you come to this country, go through this process. That's the intent of it, and that's what they write into the law.
You don't come
but
over
those are more recent laws. No.
The intent of the law is an intent, just like we got the spirit. With the spiritual law, you got letter and you got spirit. So they're going through the letter. And said, since the Constitution and said I can go protest, I can put my Palestinian hat on, and I can go out there and then cut people's throat. And I'm not a citizen of the United States.
Why are you talking about cut somebody's throat?
I can throw the cocktail and burn a car and burn an American flag.
That's against the law. That is against the law. That is against the law.
It's against the law.
No kidding.
It's an intent of the law. It's the letter of the law.
It's your intent. You don't care either way. You ain't got no intent of the law.
They got the intent of the law. They get to see. They gonna fight this in court.
Nobody ever came out. Well, guess what?
It's okay. They get these
That's not true. That's not true.
Say, well, you can go burn my house down because they should have. That Republican over there shouldn't have done this. So you burn his house down, and I'll make sure you okay.
Well,
and go to the Shreveport and then
if the intent of the law.
So we will finish this next week.
If the intent of
God bless you.
Why do you want to do that?